Rain has a way of washing the world raw. It blurs the lines between strangers, softens the noise of the city, and sometimes reveals things we never knew we needed. This story begins on a rainy afternoon, the kind that seeps into your shoes and your thoughts, the kind that makes you feel small and alone. But what if, in the middle of that rain, one small act of kindness could change everything? What if a single moment could turn an ordinary, forgettable day into a miracle? Before we begin, take a second to support stories like this. Subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us spread more stories that remind us of the good still alive in the world. And now, let me tell you about the miracle in the rain. It was a gray Friday afternoon in a small American city where people walked fast and talked little. The sidewalks were shiny with rain, and umbrellas bumped into each other like impatient strangers. Cars hissed past, spraying water onto the curb. Everyone looked tired. Everyone looked busy. And almost no one looked up. Sarah Mitchell stood under the narrow awning of a closed coffee shop, clutching her thin jacket tighter around her. She was 32, recently laid off from her job at a marketing firm, and running out of hope faster than she wanted to admit. Her savings were nearly gone, her apartment rent was overdue, and the interview she'd just come from had ended with a polite smile and a familiar line, "We'll be in touch." She knew what that meant. The rain wasn't helping. It soaked her hair, crept down her collar, and made the city feel colder than it already was. Her phone buzzed with a notification from her bank. Low balance. She turned the screen off without reading further. Across the street, near a bus stop, sat an older man on a bench. He had no umbrella. His clothes were worn, his shoes soaked through. A small duffel bag rested at his feet. People passed him without slowing down, some glancing briefly, most not looking at all. As Sarah noticed him, then looked away. She felt a familiar sting of guilt. She had given money before, when she could afford it. Today, she couldn't even afford a cup of coffee. She told herself that someone else would help him. Someone always did. Or at least, that's what people like to believe. Her bus was late. The rain grew heavier. And the man across the street started coughing. It was a deep, rattling sound that seemed to cut through the noise of traffic. He hunched forward, one hand gripping the bench, the other pressed to his chest. Sarah hesitated. She could stay where she was, dry for a few more minutes. Or she could cross the street and ask if he was okay, knowing full well she had nothing to give. She crossed the street. "Sir," she said, raising her voice over the rain. "Are you all right?" The man looked up, surprised. His eyes were tired but kind. "I will be," he said with a small smile. "Just caught a chill, I guess." Sarah nodded, unsure what to say next. "Do you need help?" "I don't have much, but," he shook his head gently. "I don't need money," he said. "Just waiting for the rain to ease up." She glanced at the sky. It didn't look like it was easing up anytime soon. "My name's Sarah," she said after a moment. "David," he replied. "Nice to meet you, Sarah." They stood there in awkward silence, rain pooling around their feet. Then Sarah did the only thing she could think of. She took off her jacket and held it out to him. "You'll get sick," she said. "Please. Take this." David's eyes widened. "I can't take your jacket." "You can," she said, draping it over his shoulders before he could protest. "I'll be fine." It wasn't true. She was already cold. But for the first time that day, she felt warm in a way that had nothing to do with the weather. "Thank you," David said quietly. "You have no idea what this means." They talked for a while after that. About nothing and everything. David told her he'd once been a carpenter, that he loved working with his hands, loved the smell of fresh cut wood. An injury had taken that away. Medical bills followed. Then a divorce. Then a slow slide into a life he never imagined for himself. Sarah listened. Really listened. She didn't interrupt. She didn't offer empty advice. She just stood there in the rain, hearing another human being's story. When her bus finally arrived, she hesitated again. She didn't want to leave him like this. I have to go, she said. But I hope things get better for you. David smiled, pulling the jacket tighter. They already have, he said. You stopped. Sarah boarded the bus, wet and shivering. As it pulled away, she looked back through the foggy window. David was still sitting there, watching the rain, a little less alone that night. Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about David. About how easily their paths had crossed. About how close she'd been to walking away. The next morning, she woke up with a strange sense of determination. She didn't know why, but she felt like she wasn't done yet. She spent the morning calling shelters and community centers. It took hours. Many places were full. Some didn't answer. Finally, she found a small outreach program run by a local church that offered job placement help and temporary housing. She told them about David. We can help, the woman on the phone said. If he's willing. Sarah returned to the bus stop that afternoon, half afraid he wouldn't be there. But he was, sitting in the same spot, the rain replaced by a pale winter sun. You came back, he said, surprised. I did, she replied, smiling. And I might have something for you. David listened as she explained the program. He didn't speak for a long time. I'm tired of hoping, he said finally. But, yes. I'm willing. Over the next few weeks, Sarah and David stayed in touch. She helped him fill out forms, get new identification, and prepare for interviews. The outreach program connected him with a part-time maintenance job. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. One afternoon, David called her, his voice shaking. I got the job, he said. And they gave me a room. Just a small one, but it's mine. Sarah laughed and cried at the same time. A month later, something unexpected happened to her, too. One of the companies she'd interviewed with called back. A position had opened up. They remembered her life didn't magically become perfect for either of them. There were still hard days. Still worries. Still rain. But on one quiet evening, Sarah met David at a small diner. He was clean-shaven, wearing a borrowed jacket that fit him better than he expected. I never thanked you properly, he said. For the jacket. For stopping. For everything. Sarah shook her head. You don't owe me anything. David smiled. You reminded me I was still worth seeing. Outside, rain began to fall again, tapping gently against the windows. Sarah watched it for a moment, then looked back at David. She realized then that the miracle wasn't the job or the room or even the timing. The miracle was simple. Someone had seen someone else. And that had been enough to start everything. As you go on with your day, remember this: kindness doesn't need to be loud or expensive or perfect. Sometimes, it's just stopping in the rain. Sometimes, it's listening. And sometimes, that small act can become a miracle in someone's life. Let's be the kind of people who stop. Let's spread kindness, one moment at a time.